Hello, science students. We are going to move to the next step. We've talked a little bit about how water is a polar molecule. Now we're going to talk about how to determine if any sort of simple molecule is polar or nonpolar. And we're going to look at kind of three main characteristics to help us determine if something is in fact a polar molecule and has kind of a little bit of positive and negative charge unevenly distributed and will stick to other things, or if it's a nonpolar molecule. So that's our goal today, is to determine that. So the first characteristic is it must be covalent. So we've only talked about two kinds of compounds or molecules in here, ionic and covalent. If it's ionic, it's not going to share the electrons at all. It's already traded them. So here's our set of candidate compounds or molecules. Those include sodium chloride or salt, oxygen gas O2, carbon dioxide CO2, and NH3 ammonia gas. First, we already can eliminate the NaCl because it's ionic, so we know that it's made out of an Na plus and Cl minus. So it's tempting to say that it's polar because there are charges involved. But since for every positive charge we have a negative charge, it all ends up canceling out. In that crystal, we're not really going to have polarity. What we have is balanced charges. It's just each atom has a full positive or negative charge. So this one we can actually eliminate because it's ionic. So this one we can eliminate. Oxygen, all the atoms involved in that one are nonmetals, so that one's covalent. So this one's going to move on to the next round. Carbon dioxide, carbons and oxygens bonded together. Carbon and oxygen, both nonmetals, will move on. Nitrogen and hydrogen, both nonmetals, that will also move on. So since we know those are covalent bonds, we know they're sharing electrons. They could be sharing them unevenly, which means it could be an ionic compound, which means all three of those will move on to the next characteristic, so we can determine if they are in fact polar or not. Second characteristic is the difference in electronegativity. So we looked at this in a previous video where electronegativity increases up and across the table. And we know that electronegativity is the tendency of an atom to sort of hog or keep electrons towards its atom versus another. So oxygen, for example, has a much higher electronegativity than hydrogen does, and therefore water ends up being a polar compound. So it has to be shared unevenly. So let's take a look at our choices. Those choices are oxygen gas, O2, carbon dioxide, CO2, and NH3 ammonia gas. So normally we would say that they need to be a big difference, but if there's any difference in electronegativity at all, they will share the electrons at least a little bit unequally. And that means since the oxygen gas, the oxygens are only bonded to itself, these ones have to be exactly the same in electronegativity because they are both the same kind of atom. Therefore, we can eliminate oxygen at this point. Carbon dioxide, carbon and oxygen not too far apart, but different enough that maybe the oxygen can hog a little bit of electrons from the carbon, so we're not going to eliminate it right away. Nitrogen and hydrogen, pretty far apart, only a little bit less than oxygen and hydrogen, so we better leave that one in as well. So these ones are probably sharing unequally. So this one's going to move on, sharing unequally. And ammonia will also move on. I'm going to say it's sharing unequally. Okay, so far so good. Characteristic 1 and 2, we've eliminated half of our choices. Let's move on to the last characteristic. The last one is that it's asymmetrical. So if I have bonds that are symmetrical and lined up, and my negative charges are kind of on either side, then they're going to cancel each other out, and we're not really going to have a polar molecule, even though it might be a little bit charged. So let's take a quick look at the Lewis dot configurations for carbon dioxide and ammonia. So we've talked a little bit about this before. So we know we have carbon dioxide is actually going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 valence electrons. If you're not familiar with this, then you may want to go back and rewatch the videos about Lewis dot configurations and how to make covalent compounds. Oxygen has 2 free ones and two sets of lone pairs of electrons that are already stable, which means we make a double bond here. And if we notice that's actually going to be symmetrical, and therefore it looks a little bit like this. So now we know that these will not share equally. The oxygens are going to steal a little bit. So the oxygens might be a little bit negative and the carbons might be a little bit positive. But bear with me for a moment. If this is a little bit positive and these are a little bit negative, notice that it's not like a magnet. It needs to be like a magnet where there's kind of a north end and a south end. We have two negative charges on either side and a positive in the middle. There's no way for those to end up being polar such that they stick together like water did. So since this one is symmetrical, this one is eliminated. Let's look at ammonia at the same time. So we're going to take a look at ammonia. Nitrogen has 5 valence electrons. Hydrogen just has the 1. So conveniently, it's going to make 3 single bonds for us. And we claimed that the nitrogen has a little bit greater electronegativity than the hydrogen, and there's 3 of those there. So a little bit negative in the middle, positive, positive, positive. A little bit different this time though. This is actually going to make it's two-dimensionally, it's hard to show, but basically you can see it's not symmetrical. There's kind of a negative end to the molecule where the electrons are being held, and a positive end where all the hydrogens are. If we try to draw this three-dimensionally, it'll look a little bit like a pyramid, and we'll have a negative end to the molecule and a positive end. So since this one is asymmetrical, in that I don't have, if there were hydrogen here, then it would be symmetrical. There'd be hydrogens all around, which is why methane, or CH4, ends up being nonpolar. Since this is asymmetrical, this one is, in fact, our polar molecule. Is it very polar? No, but it's more polar than the other 3 for sure that we looked at. So let's just review. In order for something to be polar, it must be a covalent bond so that the electrons are shared and could be shared unequally. It needs a difference in electronegativity so that the electrons are not shared equally, and it must be asymmetrical so that one end can be negative and one end can be positive. If it's symmetrical, like the carbon dioxide is, probably not going to be polar. And that's how we could identify ammonia as our polar molecule. So thank you guys for watching today. Hopefully now you can kind of figure out, based on what elements are involved in the shape of the molecule, which molecules will be polar and which molecules will be nonpolar.